Hello students, welcome you back to the operating systems course. So the previous lecture we learned about interrupt handling and also about the storage functionality in an operating system. So we learned that there are two types of interrupt handling routines, polling method and interrupt vectored method. And we also studied about the various hierarchy of storage devices and how the operating system is handling all these devices. So today's class we will see the various types of computer systems so that we can understand and later in our course we can also know what are the different types of operating systems relevant to the type of computer systems that we are using. So basically when the history of computers started, computers were very huge. If you have seen the movie, who's the father of computing? We will say Charles Babbage. But Alan Turing was the first person to develop a computing machine way back in 1970s. And even before that, when the World War was going on. So that was when the Second World War was going on. He developed the Turing machine by which he could decode the Nazi secret messages that were coming during the wartime. And so those devices were all very huge. So they were manufacturing computers which were very huge, fully filled with transformers and capacitors and resistors. So you had huge rooms to store one big computer. So that was called as a mainframe system. And it could handle very good processing speed. It could handle commercial scientific applications. And what the disadvantage was, you had to have huge space and only one job at a time can be done. So it had its own disadvantages, but then it was a very great discovery. You can go back and Google and find out what are all the various mainframe systems that started. IBM was a very good company which started with mainframe systems. Then HP took over, and so many systems were started. Even Wipro actually started with manufacturing computers, but now it is switched on to household items and so on. So basically mainframe systems are very big systems, and they work with huge functionality, and they are divided into three parts, three types: batch systems, multi-program systems, and time sharing systems. We will see each of them in detail. So batch systems, they are again mainframe, so they are very large systems, and you cannot find any batch system now. Basically when I started my career some 30 years back after my UG, I found I went to a company where they were using this one legacy system of batch system. So the input device was a card reader tape drive. All this you can't even go and see now. Maybe there are some very big companies which are having legacy systems, as I was telling you. So card reader means there used to be a card, a special type of card like your ATM card and so on. And in that we have to punch the instructions. As I told you, see, every small code of program line will be converted into zeros and ones. But here we have to convert it and punch it physically in a card. And so we used to have huge track of cards for every instruction. The program what we write we'll have, and there was a nice special device in which we have to slowly feed in the card one by one. So the computer will understand the instruction given in the card, and then it will do the printing or whatever you want to do. Okay. So the initial devices that were used were card readers, tape drives, and so on. And line printers. See, nowadays you don't find dot matrix printers. Everything is laser jet, inkjet. But when we all started our career, we had only line printers, dot matrix printers, you can say. It will make a huge noise and it will print line by line, word by word. Okay, so and then tape drives, card punches. Again, the output was coming out as a card. You cannot expect this type of a printout what we are using now. So it was the user has to prepare a job, it has to be converted to this card and then fed into the system, then it will do the job. Okay. So we have to batch, we have to group the jobs together, give it to the operating system, then it will do it batch by batch. See, now I cannot ask it to process the entire database within a day. So today 100 jobs. For 100 people I can take a printout of mark sheet. Only that's all I can do today. Then the operating system will be tired. So tomorrow I have to put for another 100. Like that I can do only batch by batch. So that was the initial system. Then we started using multi-programmed system. So in multi-programmed system, it was increasing the utilization of the operating system. It was able to execute one job and then switch between jobs. Okay, once you see the next type, you will understand this better. So it was able to switch over jobs. I will show you. See, there is a pool of jobs. Okay, and operating system is terming it as job 1, job 2, job 3, job 4. So what the CPU will do is, it will work on job 1. When you move on to the second unit, you will study all this in detail. How this job scheduling is happening. How the CPU scheduling is happening. So it will switch over between the jobs by means of this scheduling algorithms. Okay, so we will study all this in detail. What you need to understand now is, the operating system in the first type was working only on one job. Today it will work on one job, tomorrow it will work on another job, third day it will work on another job, fourth day another job. Or first day it will start with job 1, complete the job 1, then go to job 2, then to complete, then go to job 3, like that. But here it is not like that. It can keep doing job 1, in between it can stop job 1 and then say, you wait for some time, I'll come back. It can come and do some help for job 2. Then it can say, job 2, you also wait for some time, I will just come back. And then like that it can switch over. You can switch over between jobs so that everybody gets attention. See, otherwise job 4 will be indefinitely waiting. It won't know when the 3 jobs will get over. So now the CPU is shared among the 4 jobs. That is only multi-programming. Yet the more advantageous thing is the next one. So one more example. So writing data. See, it is writing job A's data, and job B is waiting. So it can request, and then job C is waiting. So it will stop writing for A, it will take B's request. Then it will find that C has been waiting for a very long time. So it will stop B, do some writing job for C, and so on. So it can switch over between the jobs. So the third type, coming to multi-sharing, time sharing, I will show you the example, then probably you can go through the slide and read through the information. See, basically it is like in the right side diagram. There are 6 users. The operating system is shuffling between all the 6 users. Here, how it is different from the second method is, in this method it is time shared, meaning to say limited time. It will be here for 2 seconds, next it will go here for 2 seconds, like that. It is based on a time factor. So that is why it is called as time sharing. See, another very simple example you can understand better is, I am typing a Word document. As I am typing the Word document, I remember that I need to send a mail to my friend. So I stop typing the Word document, I go into mail browser. So what should the operating system do? It should immediately understand. It has to stop the process running for Word. It should switch over to email process. And even when I'm typing the email, I find that I need some information. So I go to the web browser. So it has to stop both these processes and come to the web browser process. So as we saw in the interrupt, here now the user is interrupting. The operating system should keep track. Already 2 threads of operations are going on. It has to save the status of both the threads, because any minute I may return back to my Word document, or I may suddenly switch over to my email. So the operating system is time sharing. It is also doing multi-programming, and it is able to take care of everybody's purpose. So that is the latest trend of operating system. It has reached a state from where it was doing a single job. Then the second part was, it was doing batched jobs, grouping the jobs together. Now it is able to do multiple jobs and keeping everybody happy. This is a normal question asked. What is the difference between multi-programming and multitasking? So you can say that it is multiple processes, but here time factor will be taken care. So all this you can slowly go through. Whatever I have summarized, it will be given here. See, it says utilizes single CPU for execution of the process. But when you say multitasking, I can have more than one CPU also. We were showing in the diagram only one CPU, but I can also have multiple processors, parallel processors. All that is available. If we start dealing, it's going to go very large. So I won't go much in detail.